The news director of WTFM International News, Fred Darwin.
What does it take to get instant action, bold, united, non-partisan action from all branches of government, city and county, civilian and police, 1 week after an election? Obviously, a calamity of major proportions. And metropolitan New York has had its share of calamities in the past year, starting with the blackout, which followed the 1965 elections by about a week, followed by the transit strike and a host of others. So far as we know, there have been no changes in the law or the city codes as a result of the blackout, though it occurred over a year ago. Neither has there been any action to change the law on strikes by public employees, even though the Condon-Wadlin law was proved completely ineffective in the transit strike that paralyzed the city nearly a year ago. But in the calamity which struck this city about a week ago, there has been action aplenty by police and civic officials, including a nearly instant revision of the city license department codes, indictments obtained by the district attorney, and even immediate steps taken by Nassau County officials to prevent its spreading over the city line. That calamity, of course, is the attempt to introduce the West Coast topless waitress craze into New York City. We can't remember when so many have moved so fast to save the city from what they obviously consider a fate worse than death. And we say worse than death advisedly. There has been no such frenzy, no such flurry of activity in the courts over the discovery that some $200,000 worth of desperately needed life-saving equipment, including electrocardiogram machines and cardioscopes, some of which had been on order for over a year, were found stored in the basement of the city hospital at Elmhurst. Some of this equipment, in critically short supply at other city hospitals, had been lying there unused for 6 months to a year. The hospital's commissioner charged it off to red tape and said the city auditors were studying the situation. But there was no red tape and very little study of the topless situation needed to bring instant retaliation. It may well be that our survival as a center of culture and decency was at stake, and that this was a matter of greater urgency, but we doubt it. San Francisco has managed to endure in spite of topless waitresses for several years now. Upon what meat do these San Franciscans feed that they are so much better able to stand the shock than we New Yorkers? How are the people of Las Vegas and Paris and London so much better fortified than we residents of Fun City to withstand the display of undraped bosoms without crumbling into the dust? The charge against the waitresses is indecent exposure, but the mayor now says the same type of exposure is artistic at the African Ballet on Broadway. So apparently it isn't what you see, but whom you see and where. It's all too complicated for us, but at least we know now what you have to do to get action from City Hall. This is Fred Darwin, WTFM International News, New York.